Welcome, and thank you for joining us for CyberCrime 360. I am Ginny Glassner, President of the Highland Park Chamber of Commerce. You may know that October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, but are you aware of the threats you face from cybersecurity attacks or the many ways your business is currently at risk? These damages are real, they're ever-changing, and they can be catastrophic. And the Chamber is helping you do something about these risks now. Thank you to our community champion, First Bank of Highland Park, for their webinar sponsorship. Our panel of experts has been selected from 3 distinct yet interconnected professional disciplines, delivering a full-circle perspective for your business's needs. Highland Park Police Officer Pawel will share law enforcement's views on and multi-gen responses to cybercrime. Goran Donev of SafeHavenIT will explore practical approaches you can take now to help prevent cybercrimes and or mitigate its impacts. And David Macknin of ChicagoRisk will discuss both the challenges inherent in and the opportunities presented by cybersecurity insurance.
Hi, my name is Officer Geneja with the Highland Park Police Department. I'm here today to talk about cybersecurity. As a disclaimer, none of this should be considered as legal advice. It is merely pointers and tips on how to proceed and advice on what you can do to help keep yourself safe on the internet. The first thing I'd like to touch on is mobile device privacy and security. First thing is location data. What this means is that usually on your cell phone, on your iPad, on any kind of mobile device, the location settings are by default set to on unless you turn them off manually. What this means is that your information and your location is constantly being tracked by the app. How you can change that is go to settings and adjust the privacy settings to different options so that your information and your location is not constantly being tracked and given out to third parties. Another thing are malicious apps. There are a lot of apps when you go on various platforms, whether it's Android or Apple. A lot of these have very intrusive data collection, which you agree to when you get the app and scroll down all the way to the bottom and click yes. These are many times sold to third parties and could be accessed by criminals on various platforms and various scammers and hackers, which then get access to your information, your security questions, and can be used to steal your identity and then be used to your detriment. I'd like to touch on social media. There are 3 main components to this that I can see as being an issue with cybersecurity. The first is patterns of life. Whenever we post on social media, and we're all guilty of it, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, any kind of social media, we usually post our photos. We tag our location, we tag our friends, we put the time of day, and we usually post the day of. That gives people on the internet, criminals, scammers, or hackers, a lot of information about where we are, who we're with, and what we're doing. They can then use that information to exploit us and get further information to further their scam. That is also connected to photos. Whenever we post a photo, it might be a good idea to not post the day of when you're on vacation. Perhaps post when you come back from vacation, because if somebody is watching your photos and they see that you posted that you're halfway across the United States, they might use that information as a good opportunity to know that you may not be home and use that as an opportunity to commit a burglary or any other crime. That's also connected to personal information leakage. Patterns of life, our photos, any kind of information that we put out there. Very recent trends of putting information on social media where there's a list of questions. What's your high school mascot? Where were you born? What is the name of the street you grew up on? All these things can be used by scammers, by criminals, to help get passwords and get access to your information, even when you least expect it. Identity theft and account takeovers are another way that criminals get our information. One way is through phishing. A lot of people hear about phishing emails. What that means is that you'll get an email, or your company will get an email that looks like it came from a legitimate source. It may be somebody connected to your account, maybe from the bank, maybe from your accounts payable department, and you'll get that email and you'll open it. You won't realize that it's really not coming from them. They'll ask you to change some information, whether it's payment, they'll ask you for your credit card information, bank statements, account numbers, or anything like that. You, thinking that it's a legitimate source, give that information to them, and you've really given the scammer, the criminal, everything that they need to continue their scam and steal the money, steal your identity, whatever it may be. Another thing is phone fraud. We get this very, very often. What that means is you'll get a phone call and somebody that says they're with this agency or this agency, and they'll say, I'm with law enforcement, and they'll say, you need to go to the bank right now and transfer this money, or there'll be a warrant for your arrest. That is not a common practice within law enforcement. If you ever have a doubt whether it is a real law enforcement officer calling you, ask for their name, ask for what agency they're with, and then contact that agency independently and ask to speak with that officer. That way you'll be able to verify that you're talking to a real law enforcement officer as opposed to somebody that's running a scam. Another type of phone scam is somebody will call and say that there is a warrant out for your arrest or for family members' arrest, and that they need to send gift cards to them in order to take care of it. And people will unfortunately get those gift cards, give the number of the gift card to the scammer because they think that that is the way to avoid their loved one going to jail or getting a warrant. If somebody asks you to get gift cards and give them the information, be highly suspicious. It is no law enforcement agency in the United States will call and ask for gift card information. And once again, if you're in doubt, hang up the phone and call that agency to verify. A recent scam also is the IDES. A lot of people had their information leaked, and unfortunately, they're getting notices that they've applied for unemployment. This was a very, very big scam that happened in 2020 amid the COVID pandemic, and that is something that the FBI is actively investigating and working in order to get everybody's information back to the right place. Okay, so what can you do to help mitigate this risk? One thing that the police department recommends is training your employees, training everyone in your office that has access to the internet, any kind of accounts or passwords, anything like that. Training to allow them to understand the different risks that are inherent with using the internet. And that is where this training here today comes in. It's a great place to start in order to get an idea of the kinds of scams that they're out there and how we can avoid them. Another thing is to contact the credit bureaus and get a credit freeze on your account and get alerts anytime there's any kind of suspicious activity on your accounts associated with your credit. This way you'll be the first to know if something's going on, and you won't be surprised if you do go, an example, apply for a mortgage in a couple of years and find out that your name has been sent to collections through some fraud that took place without you even being aware of it. Another thing is you change your passwords often. I know it's easy to get caught up with using the same password for 10 different accounts. It's the easiest way to do it, but it's also the least secure. We recommend changing passwords often and keeping them not something that would be easily guessable, not something that you would post it online perhaps in one of those threads with the information about high school mascot or things like that. Make it something that's difficult to guess and would take some more time to figure out versus just a single word. I know it's not easy changing passwords every couple months. It's not what I want to be doing, but it's what we should all be doing in order to help make sure that our information on our bank account, wherever we're accessing it, is secure. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions about anything that I've said and you want further information, feel free to contact the Highland Park Police Department at any time. Our phone number here is 847-432-7730. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Cyber 360. My name is Goran Donev. I'm with SafeHavenIT, and I will be giving you a little insight as to IT security and what you can do to prevent and mitigate such an occurrence for your business. This is only a nugget of things that you can do. If you want to know more, of course, feel free to contact myself at 847-594-3209. So with that, let's begin. Data released by DATO said that small to medium-sized businesses paid $301 million in ransomware because of malicious software. It's a lot of money. No single defense is guaranteed to prevent a ransomware. It is a multi-pronged approach. What's the number one way a business can protect themselves? As Officer Pawel stated earlier, the best way is through employee education. That is imperative. You can have the best security system with multiple padlocks on your doors, but if you leave the window open, a malicious threat can still come in. So education is key. Without an educated workforce to understand what a cyber criminal or an email can do to their organization, having the best technology in place won't be a defense if someone clicks OK or accepts something when they download it. Education is key. Earlier, we discussed phishing emails. An easy way to see if you're getting phished, other than the grammar may be atrocious, the way it's written doesn't make sense, or you don't have an account at that bank, is to whatever link they send you, all you have to do is hover over that link and it'll give you the actual web address that it's sending you to. Now, when you click on it, it still may look like a Chase or a PNC or an institution because they copied the design. But if you do not see an HTTPS chase.com or an address that's specifically with the .com of the domain holder, and you see some big, long, obtuse address that it's being redirected to, understand that you are being phished and you should immediately delete that email. Rules for email security. I know many of you already know this, but I just want to run through them really quickly. No, you don't have any Nigerian princes or princesses looking for to give you free money. Always verify with the sender if an email is questionable, even if your best friend sent it. I've had numerous times where friends of mine send me something from a Yahoo or Gmail or whatever, and I know that's not in their behavior to send that type of email. I call them up, and then they say, "Oh yeah, my email got hacked. They sent out emails." Trust but verify. That should be the golden rule with email security. If you don't know if this is a legit email, pick up a phone, call that person. If your manager sends you an email that's asking for $1,000 in gift cards sent to him, guess what? Walk down to his office, take a look, say, why do you need $1,000 in gift cards? You'd be surprised how many attacks would be mitigated if people would just verify. No company will send you an email to notify you of an account issue, meaning they won't be asking for passwords, they won't be asking for information via email. They will be directing you to their secure website, secure portal. If you're still unsure, give them a call. Be careful of emails like Yahoo, Gmail, the freebies, because today's email users do not use passwords that are unique or that are strong enough to not guess by brute force or dictionary or their pet name or their mother's name or father's name. Always be wary if you receive an email from that type of source. If you get an email that is too good to be true, delete it. Verify. Trust but verify. There is no shame in calling someone and asking, "Hey, did you send this email to me?" Or "What were you trying to get from this email. And if the person on the other line says, huh, or gives you the deer in headlights look, you know that that email didn't come from them. Another thing is, don't install toolbars or software unless you're instructed by either an IT professional or somebody who you trust that that software won't be doing something malicious to your computer. Again, the number one way that hackers get into your computer is by clicking yes. Don't fall for the, this is Microsoft or this is X company and your computer is sending viruses all over. A good rule of thumb is they probably won't call you for that. If you are unsure and get a call that says, hey, your computer is sending viruses, we want to go in and look at your computer. No professional support company, either Microsoft or other vendors, would call you to say, hey, we want to get into your computer, pay us $250. If you're unsure, tell them thank you, hang up, and call Microsoft or call that the company directly and see whether or not this is a scam. And also, don't allow your employees to download unlicensed software. There's a lot of ways that employees can get around installing legitimate software by going to illegitimate sites, and either with a crack tool or a password or a validation code, they can get it for free. But what they don't understand is that that software has a back door that allows hackers to get in and are able to take control of your computer, monitor your keystrokes, or whatever they want to do. Your computer is your fortress. Make sure you treat it like that. Keep it clean from malicious attacks, with virus protection, with the proper training for your employees. Your computer is your essential tool. Ways to stay educated. Bring an IT professional to do a lunch and learn. Have your employees ask any questions that they feel is necessary for them to understand what can hurt them on the internet. Now, with that said, there's an old saying that everything we say on the internet is true. That's a myth. You know, there's a lot of things on the internet that is not true and will be very bad if you download or install. Second thing you can do to stay educated is have an employee handbook. An employee handbook is essential because it gives a playbook of what your employees are to do if they see such an email, or they do something that they're not supposed to, or they give them the acceptable use policy of that computer. Remember, as a small business owner, you own that computer. And as long as you put it in writing that you are monitoring your corporate network, there is no privacy because the network is the company's. Stay educated, whether through webinars or speaking engagements or whatever you can get. Always try to stay abreast of the latest scam, the latest hack, or the latest threats. There are several types of hacks that Officer Pawel touched on. You know, there's phishing attacks, there's viruses and Trojans, there's the fake wireless access point that people just connect to access the internet, and they don't understand that while on that Wi-Fi, they are giving all the information and sending passwords that any hacker will be able to decode. That's why a new rule of thumb for websites, if you see a HTTPS, which means it is a secure website, if you don't see an HTTPS on that web URL, more than likely you are transmitting the data in plain text, which is readable by all that are on that network. Antivirus and anti-malware. This is a question that I get constantly. Do I pay or do I go free? My rule of thumb is you get what you pay for and you get what you don't pay for. My favorite antivirus to go for both home use is Norton, and for professional business is Symantec, now part of Broadcom. Those antiviruses are paid, and they have a team of developers sending updates on a daily basis, making sure that they keep abreast of the latest threats, and they update their software, and they make sure that the software is running properly. Just because you have an antivirus software from 2014 and you haven't paid for it or haven't updated it, it's not protecting you against today's threats and today's Trojans and today's viruses. Keeping your virus protection and anti-malware protection up to date is key. No computer should be without malware protection. Not having it is like putting a padlock on the door but leaving your windows open. Updates and patching. Many people don't understand that software is constantly changing, and hackers are finding ways to get into that software because of an incorrect code, a malicious code that they can interject. But companies like Microsoft and others are constantly patching and updating their code to make sure they stay one step ahead, a step ahead of their virus writers and criminals. The best way to do that is to always run your Windows updates. Microsoft releases updates once a month on Tuesdays, and if you make sure you run your Windows updates, make sure your antivirus is up to date, and make sure that everything on your network is patched and running the latest code, you may mitigate the chances of a hacker getting in. If we remember back to when Equifax was hacked, the way the hackers found it is there was a server somewhere in a closet, literally, that they forgot about, and it was never patched. And the hackers are constantly scanning the internet trying to find their next target. Well, they found that server and were able to get in and cause the damage that they did. That's why making sure your system is up to date is key. If you're a small business and you want a management service where a company comes in, puts all your computers on a remote management and monitoring service where they push updates and they make sure your computers are up to date, that is something that most managed service providers will do for a monthly fee, but to ensure that the business owner can stay on course running their business and not worry about IT headaches. The biggest mantra and the most important mantra next to education is backup. Backup, backup, backup. If you don't have a backup and you get hit with the software a virus or a malicious code, and they encrypt your data and ransomware hits, and you don't have that data protected, it will either cost you a lot of money to pay the ransomware, or you will have to format and start over and lose whatever data you haven't backed up. The difference backups is offsite versus onsite. On-site obviously is a backup that is readily available. You can buy special drives that have software that backs your computer's data off to another drive, and if you ever need the data, you can recover it. The problem with this type of backup protection is if you get hit with ransomware and that drive is connected to your computer, that drive will also be encrypted. So what we recommend as IT professionals is the offsite backup. There are many offsite backup services that vary in price from anywhere from $10 an endpoint for unlimited all the way up to hundreds of dollars depending upon what you want the software to do. The beauty of it is that the data is off-site. If your computer gets hacked and you have to start over, you would reload your computer, bring your data back via the internet to your computer, and you're usually up in a day to a day and a half. While if you don't have an on-site, off-site backup, you're probably not going to have the ability to recover the data if a ransomware does hit. Off-site is not only protection against hackers, but also against natural disasters like fires, floods, earthquakes. Having files off-site is essential in recovering quickly and without as minimal loss as possible. There's a lot of myths regarding off-site backup and cloud services. Many people use cloud services like Microsoft OneDrive, Dropbox, iCloud. Is this considered off-site backup? No. These companies do offer deletion protection and the ability to recover if a file is deleted. But if your files are encrypted, you will have to. You don't have the opportunity to recover the current file. There is no time stamp on it. If you haven't used those files and they get encrypted, the chances of you recovering it from a website like Dropbox and OneDrive and iCloud is probably minimal. They're considered cloud services, meaning you can access your files anywhere, but a local copy resides on your computer. So if your files get encrypted, so do the ones on the cloud. True off-site services are companies like CyberCrime, CrashPlan, Acronis, and others, where you install a piece of software on your computer that pushes your computer's data to a secure data center. These files are not accessible by any virus or ransomware as they are securely off your computer. What happens if you have no backup and your computer is infected with ransomware? I would make sure that you turn that computer off right away. Contact your insurance, your cybersecurity insurance company, and see what they recommend, whether they want you to pay for the ransom or if there is a way for you to recover. Natural disaster happens and you have no backups. Again, this is why backups are so essential, that not only for cybersecurity, but for natural disasters like earthquakes, fires, floods, and others that can cause your computer to malfunction or to break it, and then you need the backup. If you get hacked and customers' personal information has been stolen, you contact your cyber liability insurance provider. They will contact the proper authorities, and more than likely you will have to pay for a credit monitoring service for those customers for a period of time. But again, that's not my subject matter expert. Contact your cyber liabilities insurance provider, and they will give you better guidance. With that, I thank you so much. I thank the Highland Park Chamber of Commerce for allowing me to do this. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. Goran, Donev, SafeHavenIT. Don't let a hack set you back.
It is nice to be with you. I'm David Macknin, the principal of ChicagoRisk, a security and risk management consultancy. First, thank you to Officer Geneja, to Goran, and to Ginny for their respective insightful content. As Ginny prefaced, I will share with you some concise comments on the challenges of and the opportunities presented by cybersecurity insurance. Many Chamber of Commerce members are small businesses, and as such, you may feel you will not be targeted. Plain and simple, you're wrong. Why? Number one, small businesses with often inadequate resources devoted to cybersecurity infrastructure are far more vulnerable. And number two, small businesses may not be the ultimate target. The ultimate target is a larger business or organization with whom your small business works regularly. Why is this a problem? According to 2019 statistics, over half of small businesses targeted by cyber attacks who are uninsured cease to exist within 6 months. So why is this subject so challenging? Unlike other insurance, cybersecurity insurance remains in its relative infancy. Cyber risks are actually daily evolving worldwide, so it's hard for the insurance policies and the defenders of these policies, the specialists like Goran, to keep up with the risks, let alone law enforcement. In 2020, 1 year alone, according to the just released FBI crime report, there were 320 million cyber attacks in the United States, 1 every 11 seconds. The insurance industry is trying to adapt, but it is being pummeled by claims. While the overall premium marketplace has grown, specifically in 2015, premiums for cyber insurance totaled $900 million. In 2020, those premiums exceeded $2.75 billion, yet fewer than half of all companies are carrying cyber insurance. There is still a vast gap. What does this mean? Underwriting standards are increasing, premiums are rising. These preface the challenges, but yet the opportunities presented to you for cyber insurance. How do you explore it? You must diligently proceed through 5 steps. First, your organization's leadership, ownership, and/or board has to demonstrate commitment. Second, you have to partner with an insurance professional with evidenced expertise, not in general insurance, but in cyber insurance. As I said earlier, it's an evolving risk threat in its infancy, and you need a cyber insurance specialist. Third, you must complete a detailed underwriting questionnaire and a risk assessment. Without that, number 1, you won't be able to get insurance, and number 2, you won't have clear line of sight on what your risks are. Going through the application process and going through a risk assessment will show your vulnerabilities, which then enables you to correct them. Number 4, thoroughly understand all of the insurance offers presented to you. Recognize, perhaps most importantly, what is not insured, and then select the plan you think is optimal for your company or organization. And then fifth, the risk profile assessment and your insurance should be reviewed no less frequently than every 6 months. As commented earlier, the risks are constantly changing. As a result, the insurance program you put into place at the beginning of the year now may be insufficient. You'll only know if you review it. Last but not least, if you have any questions, as I've kept this concise, you are free to contact us at www.ChicagoRisk.net. On behalf of Officer Geneja, Goran, and Ginny, and the entire Highland Park Chamber of Commerce, we thank you.